Hello, everyone. It is 9 o'clock on a Tuesday, and I am here to make another puzzle for your entertainment and edification. This week, I think I want to do a snake charmer. This is a format that was devised by Patrick Berry, because of course it was devised by Patrick Berry. And there is a single stream of letters that goes around in a circle. I mean, topologically, it's a circle. Usually, it's presented as sort of this S-shaped grid, um, said to be the snake. And you have a series of letters that are entered in it, and basically, it makes a set of words that goes twice around the grid, twice around the snake, where each time the second time it is the words begin in different places, so the words are not the same. So, as an example of just a portion of one, I have here the entries Tisiphone and Appletinis. Tisiphone being one of the Furies in Greek mythology, along with Megara and Alecto. And then they would so I often distinguish these. Let's do yellow. I often distinguish the words by highlighting them. Yellow, red. And then the second time through will come around. There'll be some word ending TIS, and then iPhone app, let in, and something beginning with IS. And then it would continue in this manner. Now, this was originally going to be the seed that I was going to use for this puzzle, but Tisiphone might be one of those things where I just know too much Greek mythology. I don't think the Furies are particularly well known, despite the popularity of the video game Hades. I don't think that really gave the name that much of a wider recognition. Especially because in the game, Tisiphone, who is the Fury who is tasked with punishing murderers, has a very limited vocabulary. When you first meet her, her only words are murderer and murder. And eventually, through repeated meetings, Persephone seems very famous as far as these names go. Yeah, and I'll get to that in a second. But Tisiphone, over the course of the game, she eventually learns to say the player character's name, Zagreus, as well. But still in the sense of murdering Zagreus. So if I did change it to Persephone, I could have phone app, which is fine. But then I would have to have... no, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to change the shading back to that. Right. But if I had Persephone, then I'd need an entry that would end in per se. And because this is a snake charmer, it's not just per se. If it were a marching band, I could totally have per se and maybe phonetic in the first row, and then Persephone and something else in the band. Disperse. Oh, I hadn't thought of disperse. That is completely on me. So yeah, let me write down the other thing that was in my head that I was going to do, just so I don't forget it, because I was like, I'm going to do a different one. So let me just make a copy of this. Let's see, we'll say train. I often name these, for my snake charmers, I often name the tabs after one of the seed entries. So I was going to have in a different one, train whistle, and then restrain. So one way we have train whistle, and another way we have restrain and whist, and so on. So I will just hold this on as a seed for something. So sure, let's do that. Now the one issue with DIS is I'm pretty sure the best thing, there might be a few other things, but like the best thing ending in DIS is TARDIS. So it's one that I don't want to overuse. So I have it set up so that I enter all of the letters in the white rows and they get automatically copied, and then I change the formatting around there. Yeah, Audis. Yeah, you can have a lot of good things ending in AU. What else do you have for me, almighty cot? Landis. Is there a good, well-named Landis? Sardes. Yeah, I think those are going to be the... What is Sardes again? Is that like a New York business or something? Oh, what am I thinking of? Sardis is a ancient city. Sardes, NYC. It's a historic restaurant. Is that where all of the Hirschfeld caricatures are? Yeah. Okay, so I could definitely have Sardes if I wanted. Yeah, do your... Yeah, don't give me these ideas, Quiara. Make your own snake charmer. They're really easy to do. Well, I say really easy. They are among the easier ones to do for me. So before I get too much further, though, so I will put in Sardes here, and I will just wrap around to the back. It's a little... What ends in SAR aside from pulsar and quasar, which are going to give me yucky letters? Caesar is probably not going to be nice. Bursar, maybe. Ooh, excuse me. And then a lot of things about Caesar. Oh God, Hamsar. That is a deep cut. I could also do Caesar without the A. Let me just see. Is there anything that's not just an obnoxious plural of a scientific term that ends CAE? Okay, hepatic. No. I suppose some of them might also be genitives and not plurals. I have no idea. You could have something like Butterbur, Sandbur. You could have Excalibur and then Cali. Sure. So let's just... color. We'll do this in red. Burr. these are, we'll do this in green for now. And usually what happens, so I try to keep the first pass through to be red and green, and the second pass through to be, or sorry, the first pass I use red and yellow to highlight the words. The second pass I use green and blue to highlight the words, just for visibility. And then over here at the end, I have to do some kind of compromise. Are we supposed to be seeing the screen with... Oh, I think this must have frozen. Let me see if I can... it's odd that it is... It is just... I think I'm going to need to get... The share screen has frozen, so I think I may need to... let's move it to a different... let's... I don't know what that is. Let's go back here, see if... Okay, I think it should update now. Sorry about that. I don't know what caused it to not update. So yeah, I would have Cali, and then something ending in X, which is really easy. I don't like working backwards too much. I sort of felt like I needed to because of the endings in play, or the letters in play. But now that I've gotten to EX, which is very flexible, I wouldn't want to actually put in flex unless it was something like the NFL or Raffle. But anyway, going over here, we have IS. One thing I'll say as we go along is that I am pretty flexible about the letter count. It used to be that there was one Snake Charmer grid that Patrick Berry made for the first time that he did a Snake Charmer. And he told me that he kind of got locked into that. It was just however many letters his first, set of words for a Snake Charmer was, which happened to be 86. And he just kind of got locked into that. And so every Snake Charmer that appeared somewhere had 86 letters. And I continued this myself until I got to the point where I'm like, you know what? I want to be able to make Snake Charmers that have other than 86 letters. It'd be nice to have longer ones. 86 is quite short for my standards. So let me figure out how to make a Snake Charmer grid in a graphics program. So now I have templates for pretty much any even number from like not 90 up to 132 or something. And if I don't have one of those, I can easily adapt one of my templates to make one for that length. Making a template for an odd length is harder, so I try. It would require making an asymmetrical grid in some way, and so I avoid having an I avoid having an odd number of letters in the grid. But all of the even numbers are fine. Although these days I usually just format the grid as a bunch of squares in a square grid. So just so we might have the grid might look like. So I'm using shading to denote the So I might make the grid look more like this, just using a table. Although I would probably invert it so that it's the cells inside that are black and the white cells are the ones that are the path. But you get the idea. So this is what I usually do these days. If I can do things with a table, I prefer to. Tables have a lot of accessibility options that importing a grid image does not. I think if I publish a snake charmer, I'll hand draw the grid to be a snake. Yeah, you can hand draw it as well. Do I have... Let me pull up one of my templates for the snake charmer grid in Inkscape. Oh wait, no, it is here. Templates. So let's put this on Inkscape. So here is an example of the grid that I would use, that I previously used. And so, it looks kind of like a snake. You could embellish one side of it to be the head. But everything in here is either a straight line or a circular arc. So it was fairly easy to, comparatively easy to put together. But as I said, these days I usually do square tables. But not always. Sometimes if there's a thematic element to it, I might make a grid art. All right. Oh, one other thing about the sort of boxy art that I was showing is that I'll make a small version of this. That's not what I wanted to do. So, in more recent years, Patrick Berry has done a variant on Snake Charmer that he calls circuit breakers, which is usually done with a boxy grid like this, and with the twist that several letters in the grid only appear in one of the entries and is skipped over the second time it passes over that letter, which provides a way to extract a message. So that is certainly one way that you can use this if you're trying to do puzzle hunt type things, is to do the circuit breaker variant. But anyways, now I am over here. One thing I'll add is that I always prefer to have at least 2 letters at the overlapping between words. Again, this is similar to a spiral, where you just want to give more continuity between the entries, more back and forth. And in one case, I, again, was dealing with the letter size constraint. And I had orchestration, which I divided into something and chest. So had that, and I had chest. And then on the other side of the grid, coming in the end, I had low something. So what I needed, it might have been I can't really think of let's just say it was lowly. So like I had maybe like a green here, and I needed to link orchestration and lowly, and putting an AL in there to make rational and allow would have been perfect. But this was when I had no flexibility in the grid length, and I was already at 85 letters, so I could only fit one more letter, and therefore it was an S to make rations and slow. So not the ideal thing. If I knew I could have more space, I still would have avoided having an odd number of letters, so I would have stretched it out a little bit more. I would have had like rational and something beginning with AL and so forth until it hooked up with the low. So anyway, I've got this IS. I had thought about this for a while, and I'm going to go with isothermal, which is a word in physics meaning a process that where the temperature remains constant. This is particularly pertinent in like thermodynamics when you're describing different kinds of engines and things. Isothermal, which has an other hidden in it. Occasionally I use different words with thermal in it to get that other, like endothermic to mean effectively warm-blooded. Now something with mal. One that I've used probably at least once and possibly more than once is Maldives and then divested. So I'm going to avoid that. Mal. And since I want the words to be distinct from each other, I don't want something like, malpractice, where I'm just having malpractice overlapping with practice something. So it's got to be different. I was thinking about malign and ignorant, but then we have something beginning with ORANT. That's not good. Could do malice and something's beginning with ice. Let me see. Let's go. I also want all of my words to be at least 4 letters, and I like my overlaps to be fairly chunky. 4 M-A-L-A star. Let me see what this gives me. Mallard. Maldemer. What's Malotus? Malotus. It's a genus of plants. No thanks. And now we're getting into things that are just mal with a prefix. So I'm also going to see what I get for ones where I have an overlap in the middle. And again, this may devolve into using mal as a prefix. Huh. That's an unexpected use of crosswordese. Eben and male bonding. So I could do Malachi and then achieve, and then it'd be probably ever something. I've used ever after, maybe Everest. There's also the possibility of having it be malice and then ice something. But there's the problem where, if it's ice cream, then we're just starting with cream for the thing after malice. So that might be a trap. Oops. And I am a little reluctant to do male bonding because I've had to use the ding ending a few times, and it's just like dinger or dingy. I suppose you could do ding dong and dongle. Oops, wrong color. I probably won't do it because of reasons, but Le Monde for the French newspaper and Mondegreen, and then green something. But Mondegreen comes from a mishearing of, was it laid him on the green or something? Le Monde and Lemon Demon. Nice. Yeah, there's lots of things you can do with Le Monde. Like, it's a deletion of lemonade. Uh, and I'm sure I'm sure that there was more than just the ultimate showdown of Ultimate Destiny that was credited to Lemon Demon, but most of what, pretty much everything else I know from him is done under the name, under his presumably real name of Nil Ciciorega, like the mouth sounds and mouth moods and a number of other mashups. So I don't want to have anything that's a form of let, because we already have let in. Um, all right, since LE is just two letters, I'm going to specify that the overlap should be at least 5 letters. Admin and lead mining. Is Galea on... wait. Is it Galea with an E that's a melon, or was that with an I? So Roman soldier's metal helmet. No, not gonna go down that. I will count that as my one thinking about the Roman Empire for... I was gonna say for the week, but like my partner is a does ancient studies, so just through osmosis, I wind up thinking about the Roman Empire from on more than one occasion. Uh, but usually in a sense of like, you know, they don't they don't even know what they're talking about, sort of thing. Just with the ways that ancient history is misused. Right, and you can have monad, but is again a little bit too abstruse, I think, for what I want here. Uh, so what if it's just an overlap rather than having something in the middle? Could also have it be uh, dongles plural and use... I wouldn't use stroy, but I would use le troyen and then troy in the sense of like a troy ounce. Except that I've already used that particular one overlap before. And also le troyen, it's kind of inferable, but it's, you know, an opera by Hector Berlioz about the Iliad. And Not the Iliad, the Aeneid, I think. I think it is most closely related to the Aeneid. Aeneid? Uh, okay, so we have Leander. I've used that. Leather. I don't want to use. Legroom. Yeah, I might have gotten to the point where I've used most of the interesting ones to use. What if we go in LES and maybe take this down to 4? Possibly something with lessons and sense. Could have something with Doris Lessing. Yeah, it's because Les Paul is a person who's going to give me everyone named Paul, or Paula, or Pauline, or Paulina. Less talk is interesting, although it's kind of a partial. I'm iffy about that sort of like. Yeah, it's a very set phrase, but it's really less talk, more rock. It is a very nice overlap, though. But what would begin with stock other than like stalking? It's, okay, pretty much everything that's about stalking. Great. Let's maybe go. If there were something where like morer, Morer, was different from more, and I could have like less talk, more rock, morer, and then like I don't know, Occam as like the actual spelling of William of Occam's razor. Yeah, none of these are really moving me, so Uh, let's maybe go Anto, lean to. And we have somebody named Antony. Antoine. Anton Ego is the critic from Ratatouille. Antonin is first name of Antonin Dvorak, the composer. Antonioni. So if it were Anton Ego, you obviously have like negotiate, but that gives crappy letters. Negotiable instrument. Okay, so not that. If it were Antoine, you could have things like inestimable, in essence, in. I am partly tempted by Lesser Ape and Sera, Sera, except that I just, when editing one of the puzzles that I recently did on this stream, I had to do some edits to the grid, and I put Lesser Ape into that grid. So, has an unusual enough entry that I don't want to double it up, even if the wordplay is completely different. Uh, who is named Antoine, though? Who's a famous Antoine? Yes, it's a French name. Saint-Exupéry. Yeah, there's Antoine, the character from the In Living Color sketch, uh, which I did think of, but I was like, I don't know that I actually want to dig into that. Do people remember In Living Color anymore? It's a, I mean, you had David Alan Grier, you had various Wayans brothers, you had Jim Carrey. That was kind of. Uh, I'm not making that up, am I? Eric Antoine. The name is Eric Antoine is familiar, but I don't think I actually know of this magician. Oh, no, I definitely don't know this person. So I could at least lean on Saint-Exupéry. People know the Little Prince. So what was I going to do with INE? I had an idea for it. Inequity is close to being nice because you have quit, but then you have that Y left over. I've had iniquitous and quit. Oh yeah, inelastic was I think the one I was going to go for. Term in both physics and I think economics. And then we have last. IC is, I will say up front, it's a dangerous bigram. Can be difficult for me to come up with a satisfying way to get out of it, but I'll try. Partly because the thing that I want to do most is Icelandic, and that would give you IC and then Eland, and then another IC, so you're back where you started. Uh, and because I often will present these things as for the harder version without giving the starting position of each of the words in the clues, having to figure out which end of ice, you might think that the IC that's at the end of Icelandic is actually the beginning, or it, it's an undesirable form of confusion. But I see. We have ictus. There's like you could. What is the name of the Iceland airline? Is it just Iceland Air? You could try that and Iceland, but then you have air, and you can't use anything related to air. You could do Elan and dairy something, but I don't think you're going to have a word beginning with dairy that will give you a good overlap there. So let's say not E for now. I've done icors, useful. Ooh, I can't even an anti, and then something. That looks good. Anti. So we could have something like venti, vengeance, vendor, vendetta. Could have like ventral and tra-la-la. Excuse me. Venice and then Icelandic. Thanks, Quiara. I see what you did there. Things about vendor, and now I'm just going to get compound words, and if I hadn't come up with something for them before. So what's looking good? Vendor. I don't think vendetta is useful here. So I think I'm going with either vendor or ventral, and ventral's a bit. I've already got some scientific borderline jargon. So let's try vendor. So can have horribly, I could have like vending machine to have ding by itself in addition to ding dong, and then mock, and then back to ine. So let's try door. Let's see, there's dormant, dormouse wouldn't be particularly interesting. Dorsal. I was just talking about ventral. Dormer, do re mi. Dorado. Could do Dorchester. Don't know what the best well-known Dorchester is. It is a neighborhood of Boston in my backyard, but I don't think that most people are going to be up on their Boston neighborhoods. Dorian, which should give us something starting with Ian. So if I did, I was just had my dormant. Would give us mantle, mantra, mantis. But I've already had an IS, so I don't want mantis. I've used manticore when the overlap was mantic from romantic or something like that. But icore is not a good beginning. Ooh, again, it's math terminology, mantissa and then issa ray, but is there something that begins ray that would be usable? Raelian, yeah. Uh, who's Rayburn spelled that way? Winery, a portrait painter. Ray Kwan is. Okay, Wu Tang Clan. That's what I thought, but I. Of course, then I'd have Kwan at the beginning of a word. Uh, Tecate. I don't know how well it's probably not well known at all, but manteca. I mean, it's Spanish for lard, and I think it's a city in California. But manteca, I know it best as a jazz composition by Dizzy Gillespie. Uh, Spanish for butter, mantequilla, little lard, is almost ends with tequila, but it has two L's. So if I had mantle, oh right, I have the except I have the T already, so it wouldn't be the T included. Need to remember that. If I had Dorado, what do I have besides adorable and adoration and adoring? Adobe, Adonis. Like Adobe adoration is fine. It would give you ration, which I talked about already, but I feel like I've used ration comes up so many times for me in these, so I have to maybe not use it all the time. Wow, Broda has a double sharp. That is, I mean, it's a note. You can have a double sharp. The circumstances that would cause you to need an A double sharp, I mean, you've got to already be in something like G sharp minor or something, and then you need to. Ugh. No, because then I am getting lost in. So I could have Adobe. Uh, so again, with Dorian, you could have Ian, but there aren't that many Ians. There are a lot of Ians, but not many that have a suitable continuation, and I feel like I've used most of them. There's like Ian Thorpe, the Australian Olympic swimmer, has the best wordplay potential because you have Thor in it. But who else is Ian these days? Ian Curtis was the singer of not New Order. What was New Joy Division? Um, but this doesn't even give Ian. Who's Ian Stewart? Ian Fleming. Like I could see using dorsal fin as a phrase, but even if I had vendors, I would just have alfin, and I don't think that's uh, beginning of something alfine. I don't know what that is, but it's only a one-letter uh, tail. Oh, that's mantras. Rashomon. Homonym is bad letters. What else begins? It's gotta be stuff. It's just forms of homonym. You know, if we had homonym, then we'd have ym, which is Ema sumac. But then you take out the oops, take out the ym. A sumac isn't anything. Rascal. Rasputin could be put in something. Put in check, put in. But it'd have to be something that we can re-parse. Okay, yeah. Mantras. Put in place and placebo. Yellow. Rasputin is reminding me that I had, in a recent puzzle, I had Boney M in the grid, which was clued as like German reggae band who had a minor hit with Rasputin, and I was like, is my test solver gonna know this? They can solve around it. It's but like, and I'm gonna so I asked, and they're like, yes, I only knew it because the song Rasputin was in a different puzzle that you had me test solve, which was a music puzzle that somebody else wrote that went into a hunt that I was editing, and they said that earwormed them. The great thing is I could have Boney M, and then Neymar is I don't know whether it's a Y or an I, but there's a Brazilian football baller with that mononym. Yeah, with a Y. Uh, God. Oh man. Oh, Neymar Jr. I guess there was another player named Neymar before him. I don't need to go into this. Uh, oh, no, no. As much as it amuses me, I am not going to recycle that inside joke. So now I just have BO, which is again wide open. Um, Let me just see if there's anything that extends placebo besides placebo effect. Placebos. Um, like Bo is just so wide open. I feel like there's gonna be some great things if I know how to search for them. Let's go with A equals 4 dot, B equals 4 dot, A, B, BO, AB, dot, dot, star. Where I have two hidden words in a row. This does not seem like too much to ask of BO. Though it is trickier to search for since it involves three words instead of two. Boreal forest. Although if I did that, I'd probably use forestall. Although I've definitely used like rainforest and forestall in previous um, puzzles. Oh, that's interesting. Risk and Arlo for Boris Karloff, which does leave an FF at the beginning. And I've used Ford with two Fs, Jasper Ford, the author, before, but quite recently, so I wouldn't want to do that. Boring to tears. I just talked about doing some kind of whistle, but I don't think Bosun's whistle is going to be well known about enough. Is bullied potatoes just a misspelling of boiled potatoes? No matter what, I'm not using it. Borrow and rough is a good one. Olean like the name of something that uses a fat substitute? It's a city in New York. I guess I'm thinking of Olestra, but I thought Olean was like a brand of chips that used Olestra or something. I mean, it might not be a thing anymore. Oh yeah, it was like, because I would find Boolean operator to be interesting at least. Boolean search, where I'd have Olean and then seer. Hmm. Do we talk about just Bob and Doug, or is it always Bob and Doug McKenzie? Wait, there was a Bob and Doug spin-off with Dave Coulier? It's tempting, but again, it's like 1980s culture that I don't know how well it's aged. And I had said that I could maybe do something with burrow and rough. I know I've had rough and ready before with Andre or Andrea. Uh, Rough seas and something like season. What was it that I thought I saw in here that was useful? Uh, oh yeah, rough seas. Do we have anything for this other than on all fours? On a lark, on alert. Oh, thanks for the alert, Wordner Bird. Doo -doo -doo. Yeah, thanks for the calling that to my attention. What can I do with Ark? Arkansas isn't going to have a good thing. Ark Arkham is both the asylum in Batman and a city in Lovecraft Country, which I which I think might be the city where Miskatonic University is, and might be cognate, or not cognate, might be based on Salem, Massachusetts. There's also a board game, Arkham Horror, based on the Lovecraft stuff. Just out of curiosity. 30 million, but it's also other things. Sure. I gotta have a clue that references both Lovecraft and Batman. Let's see. Blue, green, blue. All right, now we're getting to the point where we need to figure out how to join these two ends together. Um, we're at 104 letters. I believe. Huh. Oh, we're not at 104 letters because this does not count the bottom row. I added another row. Uh, ha ha ha. Thought that seemed low. Normally, I have a wider uh, template that I use when have the browser at full width when I'm not streaming. But since I make the browser window narrower, I had to make the template narrower, which meant adding a row, which I forgot to adjust for here. All right. So If Hamex were a word, then we'd be done. I mean, Amex is a valid entry, but I don't think Hamex is. And it'd be the so when you get to the end of Snake Charmer, one of the things you have to worry about is whether the overlaps are such that it creates a single stream of entries or two separate streams of entries. So if I had just Hamex as a word, then I would have gone like Persephone, Appletinis, other, male bonding, on a lark, Hamex, Cali, Bursar, Disperse, Phonap, Burrow, Seasonal, Arkham, Excalibur, Sardes, and then we're back at Persephone. So that's how it would work if Hamex were a word. If we inserted one thing in between to make, we said Hame AX. Hamel is, I think, a bone or something. Oh, Hamal is a star in Aries. What is... Oh, it is the brightest star in Aries. Okay. Alpha Ari. Anyway, I'm not going to use Hamal here, but if we had Hamal, and you'll see why in a second, if we had Hamal and Alex, what's actually going to happen here is we have Persephone, Rough Seas, On a Lark, Hamal, Excalibur, Sardes, Persephone. We only go around once, and then we have a second set of entries that goes Disperse, Phone App, yada yada yada, Seasonal, Arkham, Alex, Cali, Bursar, Disperse again. So what we're going to need is to fit two words in here and hope that we can make them an even number of letters. Let's also add that each of these should be at least two letters long. Otherwise, we've got much too many. I would enjoy hamper, pervert, and vertex, but that's an odd number of letters. We would need this middle word to be an even number of letters to get an even number of letters in the whole thing. Could have Hamlin, Lintel, and Telex. I don't like ill-fed, otherwise Hamel, ill-fed, and FedEx would be nice. We could also have something where there's like A, B. Oh, I need to, no. Now B is 4 and up. C equals 2 and up. Where one of the words includes something in its entirety as well as the overlaps we've been doing. Oh, darn. I was all excited about Hamper, Permadeath, Medea, and then the X, I'm guessing? Hmm. Is this something I should know? The X's. It's a TV series. A pop group from Luxembourg. I doubt that's it. This, it's the nickname of a campus radio station. Yeah, I don't think the X is enough of a thing. All right, let's go back to what we had here. So I think it's going to be Hamlin. Wait, Hamlin without an E. What's that? Damar Hamlin suffered cardiac arrest. Wow. Oh, right. Hannibal Hamlin was Abraham Lincoln's running mate in 1860, and therefore vice president. And then telex is... Sure. Let's do that. Hamlin, Lintel, telex. That's 124. And yellow. So let's see, we have Persephone, Appletinis, other, mail bonding, dongle, Antoine, last, I can't even, dormant, Rasputin, placebo, rough seas, on a lark, Hamlin, telex, Cali, Bursar, disperse, phone app, let in, isothermal, Eben, ding dong, lean to, inelastic, anti-vendor, mantras, put in place, burrow, seasonal, archem, lintel, excalibur, and sardes. So, I lost count of how many that was. 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, I believe. Huh. That's... Hmm. I'm just a little bit surprised at the number of entries that I needed to fill this. 35. Okay, so the average word length is at least over 7. Oh wow, it's only 10:30. Uh, so yeah, that's went quicker than most of these, but like I said, this is a relatively easy format to do. Now, when I do, so let me pull up presentation. Let's go. Looking for a snake charmer, which will have been a while ago. Haven't done one since I started doing the streaming. So I'm not even sure if I've done one this year. Oh, I did one in January. Oh, whoops, that's the iPads, the raw iPads file. Let's see. So let me pull this up. So this is what I was talking about for doing a more square-based grid. That this thing on the right is a table, and when printed out, these little lines here in faint lines don't appear. It's just the heavier lines and the shading. And so in the regular version, I put the clues in order. So the numbers go in 1, 2, 3. Let me just, I think I might have accidentally changed the spacing somewhat. So you can see that they go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that other numbers are interspersed between them because those are the numbers the second time round. 19, 20, 21, 22. And if you followed the whole chain around, you'd get everything. And here, in the regular difficulty level, every single clue has a number. And then I'll pull up the hard version. Let's switch to the new window. And let's zoom out so you can see everything. So here, when I'm doing the hard version, what I'll do is I'll only give the numbers for 3 of the clues, which are roughly equally spaced. There were 34 entries in this particular snake charmer, so I have specifically indicated entry 1, which begins up here, entry 12, which begins over here, and entry 23, which begins over here. So that's those are what would sort of be the entry points, and then everything else you have to build out from that, or you have to recognize that, oh, these words are having an overlap with this spacing. Can I find some place in the grid where the numbers have that spacing? So there is more work for the solver in this case, which is what makes it hard. I don't know if other constructors who do snake charmers have other ways of adding difficulty. If I go back to, actually that's one thing that I'll do, is I'll go back to Opera. So let's see. So I think this is Jeff Davidson's work, the puzzle file generators. There is one for Snake Charmer. And one of the things in this is you need to enter the shape of the grid with asterisks. Uh, and so I might not do that live. Um, Although if this is 124, 124 is 4 times 31. It's 4 less than, it's 2 less than 126, which is 9 times 14. And it's 4 less than 128, which is 8 times 16. I'm throwing these numbers out because if you do the math, a grid that looks like what I was drawing out. So if I have a grid that looks like so if I have a grid that looks like this, you could also imagine that I had it with an odd width so that the center is balanced or something like that. The number of squares that this covers is basically if you take the number of letters in a single one of these. So this is, how many wide is this? This is 10 wide. So there's 10 here. There would also be 10 here, and there's 2 more on the sides. So a single one of these is 22. That's twice the width of 10 plus 2. And I have 4 of these sticky outy bits. And so each of those will have 22 letters. So this thing has 88 letters. And that this is going to, in order for there to be 4 sticky outy bits, this needs to be 15 tall. It's going to be 4 times 4 minus 1. And so to get to 88, that's 11 times 2 times 4. So I would have something that's 10 wide and 4 groups of 4 clusters of these, which is 15 high to get 88. If I want to do 124, since that's 4 times 31, if I just did it that way, it would be a very wide grid, and I don't want one that wide. I would have a hard time fitting on the page. So if it were 126, that's, I said 9 times 14 or 7 times 18. So I guess for that I would have, that's not going to be as ideal. I think it would be like 6 what? That's going to be something that's very tall. I'll just say that much. But the 16 by 8 for 128, that's going to be 15 wide. So I think that's 15. Oops. and 4 of those. So if I did it like this would be 128 letters. And so to cut it down to 124, I would just shorten the top rows like this. And this would have 124. Sometimes if the even number, if one of the factors is twice an odd number, you could do something that is snake-shaped. So, like, if we had the 9 times 14, that's going to be a little bit ugly, but I can do it. 9 times 14, so we have 8 wide. But this is going to go several times. So this is quite elongated, as you can see, because it had to basically have 7 rows. But with this, I am able to make something that is snake-like, preserve some of the original snake shape, but it being this tall, like it would kind of fit onto the right side of a grid on a page, or the right side of a page, I should say. If I tried to do that with, but 128 is a power of 2, so it has no odd factors other than 1. So if you try to do that with something that has an even number of, like where it's a multiple of 4 instead of twice an odd number, then you would get something like I'll do a smaller example. So like if you just have 3 of them, it's the classic snake charmer S. And any odd number will make a nice snake that is a little bit windier. But if it's an even number, then both ends of the snake are facing the same direction, which is all right. Like, it's not wrong, but I find it aesthetically less pleasing. So, which is why I wind up often doing something that is more like this circuit diagram. If I were to do, I guess I could also do 124 as 130 minus 6, which means that we would have, that is 13 times 10. So we would have, that's 13. No. I keep on pasting when what I want is to redo it. So this grid here is 130 letters. So to get it to 124, I would trim the ends slightly. I'd have to trim them an uneven amount in this case. So I'd have to do that, and then that, and that. And so this might be the grid shape that I have for 124. That might be what I wind up going with. So this one is 19 high and 13 wide. Wait, 13? No, it should be 12 wide. I accidentally made it one too wide. So, I don't know. That would be 130. And then, or sorry, 124. And this is the other way to do it with 124 that I mentioned, which works out to be 15 wide and 15 high. So I think I might wind up going with this shape in the for the PDF. So let's work on that. So let's open up the solution file for this. Right, you can't see what I'm doing. I'll move it over in a second. Oh, actually, before I start making the grid, one final comment while I'm still on the sheet. So, as I said, when I do the hard version, I provide the explicit position of 3 entries that are equally spaced. And I usually want those to be longer entries so that when you get them, they are more helpful. Although it's, not necessarily the case that long entries are always more helpful than short entries, but it is more pleasing to me to do it this way. And so I try to figure out a starting place in the grid where I'll be able to have 3 evenly spaced entries that are all sufficiently interesting. Ooh, excuse me. I like Excalibur as a potential starting place. Just, it's a bold start. So if I had that, so with 35 in the grid, then they're going to be separated by 11 or 12. So if this is 1, then going from Sardi's, we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So it'd be either Rasputin or placebo as 12 or 13. And then 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. 24 is Eben and 23 is isothermal. Is that? Yeah. It could be Eben or Ding Dong are my options. I'm not thrilled about that, so what if we start at Persephone? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We could have Rough Seas or On a Lark. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Lean to or Inelastic. I'd be fine with having Persephone, On a Lark, and Inelastic, potentially. If I started with male bonding, 1, 2, 3, 10, 11, 12. Then the next one would be either Telex or Kali, which are much shorter, and so I don't want those. I definitely don't want one of the explicit starting ones to be one that is entirely contained within another word, because that only tells you about one entry going the other way. So what if it's I can't even? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Could be phone app. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, 23, 24. It'd have to be 24, so seasonal. Less excited about that, but maybe. Sure, let's, for the sake of argument, put I can't even in position 1. So if I'm going to go back to my word processor, so first I'm building off of the previous solution, just true, because I always just duplicate or save over, rename old things. So we'll rename it to 202509. I think it's going to go out this month. There's a chance it goes out next month. So then now's the part where I make the grid. And how big is this grid? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 wide and 1, 2, well, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, this is in fact the desired size. This is, I believe, 128. Let me just double check that in... I think this is what we had. Yeah, 128, because it's the one that had Matterhorn. So I only need to change the ends. I need to trim the ends a little bit. So... no borders. All borders. Oh. Wait. Oh yeah, this is just zoomed in so much. I'm going to change all of these borders to be thin rather than hairline, because sometimes hairline is too thin to show up well when printed. Actually, what happens if I just select the whole thing and tell it to make things thin instead of hairline? That didn't have the desired effect. And I might actually go over again and make the outermost borders, both the outer and innermost borders, thick. And this is partly like this is a bit of an accessibility issue as well, as making sure that the grid is plainly visible. You know, I also intend to have an iPuz or JPuz available for at least the regular difficulty level. If I still I have not been using the making iPuz versions regularly because the generator that I use is stale, I think. Needs to be like Google, I think. Don't know why that's not taking. It's just something about it being the bottom of the grid. If I resize this, does it? It's so weird. Okay, I guess I just need to be a little bit more explicit. Oops, not medium. Definitely not medium. Thin. This is one of the things that I do dislike about LibreOffice is table formatting is uh, more of a pain than it is in Microsoft Word or Microsoft Office. And I just realized that I'm going to need to change the borders at the bottom anyway since I'm shrinking, since I'm cutting more squares off at the bottom. For the longest time, I didn't really care about the default hairline is the default for some reason, and I just kept it at hairline uh, thickness, and it didn't particularly matter for test solving because my regular test solver does everything on their tablet, and so they just like make a copy of the PDF and draw on it. Uh, and then I need to make this cell. Nope. No, stop that. What is going on? I don't understand what is going. Oh. What? Ah. Okay, so the pop-up when I try to change the... I don't get... not going to lose my temper. But there's something weird going on where OBS is able to find the palette for changing colors, but I can't. So let's just oops. So I'm going to have to do it through the longer way. All right. Now this thing should have the right number of letters. And I was going to start with I can't even DOR. What was it? Dormant? Mantras, right. Having to And let's also zoom out again so you can see more of everything. B-O, borrow, C, sun, all, H-A-M, Intel, X, SAR, Ds, disperse, phone app, Apple teenies, isothermal, after that, male bonding, right. Ding dong. E came after dongle. Lean to Antoine. Inelastic. Background. So I did get the right size. Good. So can't even. Dormant. Rasputin. Rough seas on a lark. Hamlin. Telex. Cali. Bursar. Disperse. That's I'm sure the roots are unrelated, but it's a little bit weird because a bursar is so named because they disperse funds, B-U-R-S-E. So right next to disperse with a P, which has a similar meaning and very similar pronunciation. Right. Phone app, let in isothermal, eben, ding dong, lean to, inelastic, anti-vendor, mantras, put in place. We have let in and put in place. That's fine. Borrow, seasonal, Arkham, Lintel, Excalibur, misspelled, Excalibur, correctly spelled, Sardies, Persephone, Apple teenies, other, male bonding, dongle, Antoine. Oh, one thing I hadn't noticed is that puts last as the last entry. I think I will be meta about the clue for that, even though it won't make as much sense in the hard version. although it will maybe provide a clue as to where it goes. All right, so we'll save that. Oh, need to change the date in the footnote to September. I started putting the date on all of these because somebody said that when they made printouts and, they were on their to solve list and eventually they wanted to look up the solutions, they had to remember when the puzzle was from in order to find the solution. This isn't an issue if you are using the file, because I always name the files with the year and month in the title. But if you just have the printout, then it's a lot harder to find. So, now we'll regular, make the regular version. And so now we want to put the numbers in, and we'll worry about formatting them properly in a moment. 2, 4, 6, 10, 11, and then Persephone was going to be another one of the ones that gets explicitly indicated in the hard version. Bikinis. Wait. Oh, no. I crossed the streams. I went from the next one after Bursar was not Sardes, it was Disperse. So 11, 12, 13, let in isothermal. Yeah, between isothermal and inelastic, that's you've got both elementary mechanics and thermodynamics covered for the physics curriculum. I must have... I skipped 29. Now we get rid of all the other text. All right, now gotta shrink the numbers down. Put them to the left and text flow top and borders. We're going to put a 0.1 border all around. Wait, what did I just do? Text flow, put everything to top, borders. Okay. So now to write some clues. I'll also want to put the instructions for the puzzle at the top, but I'll just copy those from something else. Actually, what I'm going to want to do is make... How wide is this? This is 12 wide, so it takes up... It's about... If I made this 2 columns, how... 2... And then I said, so this is in a frame, position is right to page text area, wrap. Let's do wrap off. Why am I not seeing the columns? Oh, that got turned into 2 columns. That's not at all what I wanted to have 2 columns for. Oh, it is 2. Okay, it is 2 columns. It just hasn't gotten long enough to... All right. I'm being too clever for my own good. All right. Just write some clues. Everything I want to write for on a lark uses on a whim. Ugh. Vice president whose surname can be found hidden within the full name of the president he served under. And this is, as in Hamlin, can be found in Abraham Lincoln. And this is something that was exploited on some campaign pins. You can find images of basically like Abraham Lincoln and then Hamlin in the middle highlighted. Male bonding is going to be tough for me just because I'm very much not enculturated in typical male bonding activities and stuff. I don't hold much or at least the things that would be male bonding for me are probably very and it's not even like they're particularly gendered things. It's just things that I do with my male friends, which are also things that I would do with female and non-binary friends if they were so interested. Because it'll be things like, oh, let me meet up with my friend Ken and do some puzzles together. I can do puzzles with anyone. I just happen to be doing it with Ken right now. Uh, I'll see also like why we need to invent words like male bonding and bromance when friendship is right there. Uh, I want to take my time with a clue for Persephone because again, as I mentioned before, my partner is a does ancient studies and their particular specialty is ancient Greece. So, and I also mentioned my love of the game Hades, in which Persephone is a very prominent character. Might have like I mean, setup is a valid definition of put in place, but it's a little bit vague. Setup has a lot of mm, oh, you couldn't see me looking at the dictionary. Um, Maybe I'll say like setup ahead of time. 3 words. All right, so let me just double check what Sardi's was. Huh. Okay, the caricatures at Sardi's were not Hirschfeld caricatures. Uh, Hirschfield. Uh, Al Hirschfeld. Where were his characters in? Oh, I guess in the Times and such. Okay. Uh, Going down a Hirschfeld rabbit hole with the Nina thing. Right, writing clues. So, Broadway. Mm, Restaurant known noted for its caricatures of Broadway stars. Fruity vodka cocktails. I mean, I just realized that I don't drink, and I was about to voice opinions on appletinis. Namely that they're. I mean, an appletini is vodka and apple juice or apple brandy or the like, and so it takes its name from being a variant of a vodka martini. But a vodka martini is not a martini. Darn it. Uh, and I've never drunk a martini in my life. Never drunk any of the ingredients either. I don't drink. But I still have opinions about cocktails. I know too much about cocktails for somebody who does not drink. How Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. Okay, so he is just known as Saint-Exupéry when. Alright. Little Prince, author, Sat. Okay, there's an accent over the second E. Okay, so it's ambiguous whether Excalibur is the sword from the stone or the sword that was given by the Lady of the Lake. Uh, hmm. Gosh. Everything to do with King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table is just so messy. Just so many retellings, different in every retelling. Am I just going to clue it as the casino for. Or wait, what is. Yeah, just to sidestep everything else? Because either it's bone obvious, like sword wielded by King Arthur, or if you're trying to come at it from another angle, it just gets really complicated in order to be like both technically correct and correct for like people to get. Uh, so for 23, I'm going to be a little bit. Given that I have other clues in this puzzle about Manhattan, New York, and cocktails, I feel a little bit cheeky in having it be Manhattan, e.g., because I've hinted at both. Crude shelter for lean-to. What are we at? 1144. On a mot. How do you spell onomatopoeia? Okay, I had it right. But it just doesn't look right at onomatopoeia for a doorbell. And spell check does not recognize onomatopoeia. I wonder if there's another spelling that it does recognize, or it's just not in the dictionary. I mean, I'm going with this spelling because that's what's in Merriam-Webster. Survey questions. Um, hmm. We'll see if, even if people haven't seen Hamilton, we'll see if people will recognize the rhyme. I once I grew up in D.C. and in the Washington Post in the style section they had the Style Invitational, which was sort of a weekly humor contest with varying prompts. And one of the prompts was the least interesting fact, and one of the winners was Aaron Burr is the most famous person whose name begins and ends with two consonants. And then went on to say the most famous person whose name begins and ends with the same, or sorry, not two consonants, whose name begins and ends with a double letter. The most famous person whose name begins and ends with the same double letter is like some Civil War general named Lloyd Barenthal or something like that. But that is something that lives in my head. Mm. Mm. For Cali, I kind of want to do something about West Coast rappers, but I'm a may need to give some thought as to the phrasing of that so that I'm not like misusing slang. I mean, obviously it's going to refer to California in one way or another, although there's a city named Cali in, is it Mexico or Colombia? Possibly both. Colombia. Yeah, it's one of the largest cities in Colombia. But I would still want to clue it via California. Um, Scatter. Actually, let's do musically inspired. Mm-hmm. I don't know if the name telex is meant to have text in it or if it's telephone exchange, uh, or if it's just tele with a teleprinter exchange. Okay. Again, uh, wishing I were better at coming up with the clever clues. Uh, I can come up with moderately interesting clues, but not the clever ones. If I want something clever, I write a cryptic clue. Ah, Lovecraft. What is? I'm always bad with initials about how to space them. H.P. Lovecraft. There is a space between his initials. Ugh, it looks so weird to break up the H and the P over the line, though. So let's get rid of that orphan. I don't know if orphan is the right word there. I think an orphan is when you have one word at the end of in a line at the end of a paragraph. I just cannot try to write a clue for male bonding without like going down the, you know, stereotypes and tropes and all that. Because it's I can write a very boring thing of like an activity done by guys or whatever, or I can. Uh, uh, excuse me. Dongle definition. All right, it is just about midnight. I have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, 14, 15. So I've written about half of the clues for this puzzle. I have another half to go. There's other formatting that I would need to do for the hard version and also for making an e-solving version using the online tools. So I think I'm going to wrap this up here. I hope you enjoyed seeing me put together a snake charmer. And I'll level with you. I kind of wanted to do something easy this week because shortly before stream I had a 2 hour professional development Zoom meeting for my teaching job, and I just did not want to think hard after that. So thanks for letting me unwind with a breezy puzzle. Easy breezy. And I will see you next week. And until then, happy solving.